Welcome! Today I'm going to be telling you 3 short stories about the historical city that we live in, Oxford. Oxford used to be called Oxen-a-Forden, which translates to Ford of the Oxen. In modern day, this means that the cows used to frequently travel across the river. Today's first story will be about a man named Lewis Carroll who took a girl named Alice in his rowing boat. The second story about how Thomas Cranmer came to find himself being burnt on a stake. And the last will be about a man who said he could distinguish every animal from the taste of its flesh. So make sure you are comfortable, listen carefully, and prepare to find out more about the wonderful city of Oxford. One sunny day, the daughter of a dean at Christ Church College in Oxford asked her father's friend Lewis Carroll to take her out in his rowing boat, as her father was too busy to take her. Alice Liddell begged and she begged Lewis to take her. He reluctantly agreed and led her towards his rowing boat. Whilst on the rowing boat, Alice pleaded Lewis to tell her one of his weird and wonderful stories, and again he reluctantly agreed. Alice was excited. She loved the stories that Lewis told her. They were always ones that went beyond her wildest imagination. As Lewis started to tell her his newest story, Alice knew this one was different from all the rest. Lewis told her a tale of a little girl sitting bored by a riverbank who finds herself tumbling down a rabbit hole into a topsy-turvy land called Wonderland. He told her all about tea parties and magic potions, mad hatters and rabbits with pocket watches, evil queens and Cheshire cats, terrifying beasts known as Jabberwockies, something so ridiculous that Alice could hardly begin to imagine them all. When they finally came back to shore, Alice was so mesmerised by Lewis's tales, she begged him to write it down so she could tell it to her sisters. For the third time that day, Lewis reluctantly agreed. He decided to call the little girl in the story after Alice Liddell and called his book Alice in Wonderland. Every year on the 7th of July, the city of Oxford celebrates for Alice Day, and this year marks the 150th anniversary. Next time you find yourself in Oxford, look out for the little hints of Alice that are scattered throughout the town. Now we move on to a story about a boy from Nottingham. His name was Thomas Cranmer and was born a long time ago in 1489. Thomas Cranmer grew up to be a very clever young man and even went to university at the age of 14. He worked very closely with a man named Henry, who was in fact the King of England. Henry liked him so much, he made him Archbishop of Canterbury, a very important role. This King Henry was also known as Henry VIII, who we all know had quite a lot of wives. At the time, his wife was Anne Boleyn. She had not been faithful to Henry, so Thomas loudly proclaimed,
"You must be executed!"
Thomas stayed with Henry to the end of Henry's days. When Henry's daughter, Mary, became queen, there was a huge procession. Unfortunately for Thomas, Mary believed in a different form of religion than he did. Even more unfortunately, Mary absolutely hated everyone that didn't believe exactly what she did. She further hated Thomas, as Thomas had supported his friend King Henry when he was horrible to Mary and her mother. Therefore, on the 1st of March, she declared that Thomas be burnt on a stake in 20 days' time. By this time, Thomas was 68 years old, and he accepted that he was going to die. As Thomas calmly walked up to the stake, the clock tower struck 3. The crowd fell silent. You could hear the creaking as they winched the pyre up. It was widely reported that when he stood on the stake, he was calm and dignified, even when the pyre was lit. It is said that he let his right hand be burnt first, as a symbol of God taking him up into heaven. If you venture down to St. Giles in Oxford, in the middle of the road is a plaque that is in remembrance of Thomas Cranmer and all the other men and women who were burnt by Queen Mary for the religion that they followed. Our final story is about a man whose name is William Buckland. The tales about what he did with his life are so incredible and unbelievable that we felt we had to share his story. He was an Oxford zoologist that was well known around the world for his in-depth knowledge of animals. In fact, his knowledge was so in-depth that it was claimed that he could determine which animal was which just from the taste of its flesh. He could tell a crocodile from a fish. He could determine a lion from its flesh in the dish. He could chew a rhino and guess in 5. He could gobble a bee and even tell which hive. He could tell the difference between this and that, but was never expecting to eat a rat. Then one day he ate some whale, but didn't like it as it was oh so stale. Sorry. His wife didn't much like his skill, so sadly alone at the table was Will. That is the end of the rhyme, however, not the end of our story. In France, the royal family had heard about his incredible talent and wanted to test William themselves. They invited him over to test him with a wide range of animals, and of course, he got them all right. The royal family were overjoyed, and to express their gratitude, they decided to show him their most prized possession, the heart of the long-deceased King Louis. However, they didn't have time to explain what they heard to William, and Will, thinking this was their final test, snatched the heart and ate it in one huge gulp. All of the royal family gasped. And William loudly proclaimed,
"Well, you've really got me there. I have never tasted that animal before."
there are many more stories from Oxford that we simply do not have time to tell, or the strength in our arms to keep holding up these puppets. We hope you have enjoyed our performance, but for now, farewell, and we shall see you all in September.
It looks so effective.